Republican Representative Dan Crenshaw, during a recent speech, I guess you would call it, it was more like a conversation. But anyway, Crenshaw spoke to a crowd where he called out the grifters in the Republican Party. And the people he believes are the grifters might surprise you. Take a look at what Crenshaw had to say about members of his own party. Here it is.
Supporting these two. There's actually other veterans in Morgan's race. There's other front runners. But why support these two? Well, because I've been in Congress for almost 3 years now. There's two types of members of Congress. There's performance artists and there's legislators. Now, the performance artists are the ones that get all the attention. They're the ones you think are more conservative because they know how to say slogans real well. They know how to recite the lines that they know that our voters want to hear. Let me tell you guys something. In the first 2 years of Trump's presidency, when Republicans were in control, when every single time we were voting on Donald Trump's agenda, who do you think was at the top of that list voting with Trump, and who do you think was at the bottom? A lot of names you would recognize were at the bottom of that list. A lot of names you would recognize are at the top of that list. Number two is it's probably going to make you cringe a little bit. It's Adam Kinzinger. Voted with Trump almost 99%. He was number two. You know who's at the bottom? Everybody in the Freedom Caucus. All of them. What you hear so often is not true. It's not true. We have grifters in our midst.
There are grifters among us. Of course, he says, not anybody in the audience. Y'all aren't the grifters. The grifters, of course, are the House Freedom Caucus. Because, as he correctly points out, even Adam Kinzinger, with all of his anti-Trump statements, still voted with Trump 99% of the time. Liz Cheney was also up there at the top. The people who weren't voting with Donald Trump were members of the House Freedom Caucus. So who exactly is in the House Freedom Caucus? Who are these people that Dan Crenshaw believes are the grifters of the party? Matt Gaetz, Paul Gosar, Jim Jordan, Louis Gohmert. Also members of the House Freedom Caucus, for the record, are Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. However, they were only in office, 2 weeks before Joe Biden got sworn in, so they didn't really have the opportunity to be members of the House Freedom Caucus during the Trump administration. Again, you got 2 weeks in there, but, can't really do much. So, he's calling out these other people as the grifters. And he's not wrong. That's what I, find the most shocking about this. I'm agreeing with Dan Crenshaw 100% on this. Because Crenshaw is speaking like a reasonably sensible individual, even though I disagree with his premise, I guess you would say, that we need to all be voting with these other Republicans and passing Trump's agenda. That's horrible. That's really bad for America. But he is right that these individuals don't peddle in legislation. They peddle in outrage. It's all a performance art to them, which I have been saying on this show for months and months now. These people don't care about passing legislation. They care about having everybody know who they are. They want fame. They want adoration. They want the damn spotlight so bad they can feel the heat off it already. Clearly, Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene fit that description to a T. Matt Gaetz wants to be famous. Matt Gaetz, I honestly believe, could not care less about political power. That doesn't mean he's not going to continue to seek it. What it means is that if he had to choose between a higher office or having his own primetime TV show, guess which one I think he would pick? He'd go for the TV show. He wants to be a star. And that's what he's set out to do. That's why he has that firebrand podcast now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, even though, again, they weren't members of the Grifter Caucus, as we're now going to call them, thank you, Dan Crenshaw, for that, when Trump was in office, it's clear now what they're doing. They want to be in the spotlight, and they're fighting over it. They want to be the person that every media outlet's talking about. Good or bad, doesn't matter. There's no such thing as bad publicity for these people. They want to be the center of attention without, of course, having to actually work. And that's what Dan Crenshaw is pointing out. These people aren't doing anything in Congress. And he says that like it's a bad thing. Personally, I think it's a good thing. Do we want Marjorie Taylor Greene getting bills passed? Do we want Lauren Boebert to be sponsoring legislation and getting out there and ruining this country? No, we don't. We absolutely do not. But for a Republican base, Crenshaw's words matter. And honestly, this is what makes Dan Crenshaw I don't want to use the word dangerous, but a rather powerful, I would say, politician. He knows how to speak to these people. The Republican Party right now is desperate. They're desperate for a sane voice that also has insane policies, which is kind of what Crenshaw is doing here. He's calling out these other members of the Grifter Caucus, saying that, look, they're all talk, oh, they love Trump. We all love Trump, he's implying. But only some of us voted with him all the time. The rest of them are just out there being liars. They're saying crazy things. They're drawing all this negative attention. So Crenshaw is trying to bring the party back from the brink of crazy while still bowing down to Donald Trump, but coming across as more reasonable. And Crenshaw, let's be honest, dude, you're not reasonable. You've put out so many little clips of yourself acting like some kind of action movie superstar. Yeah, you're ridiculous as well. But I think he's starting to wise up and realize I got to tone it down a bit. I have to be the sensible person here. Because if I can pull that off while still showing loyalty to Donald Trump but not being totally crazy, I can attract just enough of the Republican base and enough moderates to where I might be able to win a higher office in the future. And that is what Crenshaw's little clip there was all about.